Well, it's Friday. Oh, there's Sadie. Oh no. She was talking to all these teenagers, like all these families have moved into this neighborhood. It used to be mostly like students from the university, and so there were people would come in and out. But since the time that we bought, which was like 10 years ago, a lot more families have moved in, and just this last summer, like two different houses turned over, and they were filled with families that have kids our age. And so Sadie was just talking to a boy. I can't wait to ask her about that. Ooh, maybe I can talk him into coming over. That'd be awesome. I can't wait. It's going to be great. So it's Friday. We have, it's because of COVID and some other stuff, and also some inclement weather that's coming, there isn't going to be any like outdoor trick-or-treating this year. But they were going to have a big thing at the high school where all the little kids can come and they go through the high school, and all the high school kids are there hanging out with each other and giving out candy. Sebastian asked for Christmas, for Halloween to have what? Smacky's just staring at me. Okay, threat of the cat starving to death has been taken care of. Anyway, so Sebastian asked me for Halloween to be Jeep from Jurassic Park. And I kind of got caught up in this was last weekend, but because we're not going out on Halloween, these other earlier events were happening the week. I only had a few days to do this. I must have blown. I stopped tracking my time after about 30 hours. And the only reason it took that long is because I was too ambitious. I didn't adequately mentally prepare for how much time it was going to take to do this and that stuff. And I don't know, I'm still obscenely proud of it. Here's some pictures. It held up amazingly well. I didn't anticipate that that Sebastian was actually going to sit in the thing. Well, actually, I did anticipate he was going to sit in it. I did not anticipate that the construction would actually hold up. Like, he sat in it and it held his weight. It was wild. I made certain things I'm very proud of, but I could have gone a lot more simple with them. Like having the how I built the wheels was silly. What I should have just done is just made a disc out of cardboard cut and put at opposite grain directions with wood, clamped them, and made 4 of them just on a tire. It would have been much, much better. But the axles are solid wood, and they're inside that white plastic piping for sprinklers. I had some, so they rotate. But other than that, it's 3 rolls of duct tape and a whole bunch of cardboard. I'm very, very proud. We went to the first event was at the high school, like I said, and the high school, a lot of the tables for the thing were run by basically all these high school girls thought that he was the cutest damn thing they had ever seen. And so he got to understand that the path to some women's hearts involve owning a Jeep. So maybe that's something that's gonna stick in his mind for the future. Trying to think of what else is going on. Oh, ammonite craziness. It's insane. Every rock is an ammonite. Every rock. Like, I was out looking at the front of the house, and there was just this top of this rock, and I was like, let's see. And I built it. The thing is this big. It's an ammonite. It's like this big, a huge piece of metamorphic rock. It's on the front step. I found this rock probably 10 years ago when we bought the house. I never really looked at it that much. Yet again, another ammonite. It's hard to see, but there's circles. You can see the circles in there as it rolls around. And there's more. They're all through here. And what's neat, you can actually look at the rock. Isn't that cool? I keep hoping that ammonite would show up, but you can definitely see it when you're holding it. Like there's one right there. Everything is an ammonite, including things that, like, if I didn't know exactly what to look for, I wouldn't have noticed. A lot of this stuff just looks like rocks, but it's not. You can see part of the construction there. You can see there's a couple swirls right there. It's like every gosh darn thing I pick up, every one. Where is this one? Well, you can kind of see the thing in the curve here. It goes on and on and on. Here's one that's really cool. Appears to be some kind of river-worn sandstone. Do you see all these little holes? I'm not quite sure what was there, but they trace out the edge of the shell. You can see it a little bit better on here, actually. Let's keep turning. Yeah, you can see it goes like this and curves in. And it's got some material here. There's another circle out this way. I don't know. This guy was just insane for ammonites. Just insane for them. I'm starting to see ammonites everywhere, even in places where there shouldn't be any. Okay, well, you know what? Let's do wrist check. Okay, wrist check. Piggybacking on the back of my 7546 video, I actually went through and did this one. It's just, I remember when I first got it, I was like, gosh, this thing is wacky. And I wasn't a fan of bare metal bezels with infilling, but taking this watch out of where it was and putting it back together, because it was apart for some reason, and I was like, God damn, this thing is beautiful. It's like, and it's all silver. It's like the Captain Phasma of watches. If only Captain Phasma was actually awesome. Never mind even like more awesome, just actually awesome. Awesome at all. But anyway, all silver with this crazy reflective dial, and in the right light, all you see in the dial, these floating black hands. It's kind of cool. Such quality. Such fantastic quality. It's that solid bracelet. That's the deal, baby. So anyway, not like anyone else owns one of these, but if ever I want to refer to it as a name, I will call it the Captain Phasma. Though this watch is a far more, it has a lot more character development and history behind it than Captain Phasma did. She was basically just a shiny throwaway. Yeah, I mean, here's another one. This is another one. I just picked this up. This was literally, it was in the dirt, like buried about 2 or 3 inches down underneath that same tree. More metamorphic rock. And you can see, there's the best one to see it. Well, you can see the, I mean, there's part of the center right there, and it rotates out. You can see another center there. Also, the crazy thing is like a huge amount of the rocks here, even little bits of gravel, literally just gravel, they all have this marine deposit or hot springs deposit on them. See this gray stuff? It's like it's sitting on the top of the stone. I swear to God, every rock, there's more of it here, more of this gray stuff. It's not cement. It is, it's some kind of marine deposit. All the stones that have it only have it on one side. Also, looking at a lot of these rocks under really high magnification, they have little, I don't know who that is. Anyway, I need to get a machine that can help me test for metals and tell me what the metals are. Enough of this BS, right? Come on, let's get to it. I'm going to pause this so I know where to stop. Okay, yes, we are recording. Mr. James Duffy of the Sandwich Time channel. Hello, Spencer. Hello. I just binge watched the last 2 episodes of Mail Call after returning from a long work trip, and it helped me relax and reacclimatize to my regular quasi-quarantine lifestyle. I'm glad you're home and safe. I do always enjoy looking to see what's on the menu today. Quick question for another mail call, or this one. Did you go through the typical stages of watch collecting that begins with hoarding affordables, but eventually purging and moving upmarket, or did you take another path? When I first discovered old Seikos, it was because a work colleague was wearing a Seiko 6309 7049. And it had belonged to his father. I'd never seen one before. But stylistically, it had all this stuff that I just loved. It was two-tone black and white. It was all curves, beautiful, like an ergonomic case. So I got interested in vintage Seiko. First vintage Seiko I ever bought was like a 1970 or 71 6106-8237. I think that's it. Yeah, it's a blue 70-meter sport diver with white fully loomed markers in sort of a lozenge style case. It was totally original, faded sweep, but I worked on it and cleaned it up, and I wore that for a long time. Yeah, I started buying watch lots. Actually, that was kind of my thing. Buying watch lots because I didn't know anything. So I was excited about watches and I got carried away, and I bought all kinds of stupid things. There was no real rhyme or reason to what I bought. Some of the things I bought because I saw other people online talking about how cool they were. I didn't really know how cool they actually were to me personally. And I wouldn't realize that that was something I would need to consider until I got all these watches and wearing watches that people were like, this thing is awesome. But realizing that it wasn't awesome for me. Watches are real personal. But pretty much, I started out being a cheap watch hoarder, just having a ton of material. And then I worked on having full runs of stuff. As I learned more and did more, I wanted to be able to have, like, I had a watch box, and it had, like, in the top slots, it had the entire run of variations of the 6139 6000X in blue and in gold. And at a certain point, I had 2 out of 3 silvers as well. But then I was looking at all these watches, in very similar condition. This was long enough ago that you could find them in really great condition for, not a whole lot more. But they, I was looking at them, I'm like, why do I have this many? I've owned some rare watches, but it got to the point that if I had a watch and I wasn't wearing it, it just annoyed me. It just bothered me. So I stopped hoarding. And I stopped going for trying to get runs of stuff, and I tried to figure out what really worked for me. For a while there, I kind of went, when I was given my great uncle's Rolex Explorer 1016, I went on a teeny bit of a vintage Rolex kick because I had to learn about them. So I learned about those, and I kind of dipped my toe into the Rolex world, vintage Rolex world, working my way up and trading and buying and selling. And I got to the point that I had some very, very nice pieces. And then I was like, I don't know why I have this many of these. These are the 2 Rolexes I really want, and all the other ones I sold off. So I still have my great uncle's, and I have my 1987 000, which is pretty cool. But beyond that, I don't know. When a watch starts to become worth too much money, I stop wearing it. Not that it annoys me, but it's like my 6159 7000. It's like, it's just worth silly money. So I still kind of like getting the most. I like squeezing the most that I can out of watch stuff is fun. It's fun. It's a lot less fun if you're dealing with 4 or 5 figures in a watch. I would much rather get a watch for, I don't know, 20, whatever. Get a watch, a wreck, and not necessarily a super collectible or super cool watch to anybody else, but getting something like that, rebuilding it, restoring it, bringing it back to life, and getting some wear out of it. So I love things like that. That's what I really like. But, 2 weeks. 2 weeks of acquisitions. This hasn't happened in a while, but it used to happen a lot. I don't know. All I can think is that when I get, I don't know, maybe when I finally clock out and I'm stuffed and put on the couch upstairs, they can just take all my watches and dump them there with me. Hang on, I dropped my questions. Speaking of that giant watch lot, Mr. Boyarski up in Alaska, talking about the watches. That's an awesome stash. You pulled out that black one, and I knew it was a 7005 802X. Yes, you're correct. 7005 last night I found my dad's Seiko's owner's manual. In the back was the model of the gold Seiko he had for all the years we were growing up. It was a 7005 8027. Like this. That is a 7005 8027 on the original bracelet. Anyway, there it is. Oh, the horn bracelet on the Hoffa watch is really cool. That's a JB Champion, actually. I was flabbergasted. It was just filthy, like you just wouldn't believe. It's like you get those old man bands from watches from the 60s or the 70s, and I swear the guys just never took them off, never cleaned them. I had to run it through like mineral solvents, and then I had to, it was crazy. It just it was specifically designed to hold filth. It took me forever to get it clean, but it was a JB Champion. Any of them up for sale unrestored? I typically don't sell unrestored watches. I try not to be a hoarder, but to me, their value to me is more important than just the dollars out of them. I like to hang on to them because there's always the potential that I could bring one back or find some piece of new knowledge I don't know. I'm still learning things from watches that I bought in watch lots 10 years ago. I have them sorted. And I find things, and it's interesting. So to me, it's research material. But again, I don't want to be a hoarder. I guess if there's something that you're looking for specifically, write me and ask and see. John Boy continued, the Black Caravel has a Citizen 020 style movement. They were owned at the time by Citizen. Caravel was owned by Citizen? Did Caravel get split off from Bulova? When did that happen? Anyway, those 7 jewel movements were great when in that condition, fun to work on. It looks like a nice movement. I wish it wasn't 7 jewels. I wish it was 17, but I'm sure it's fine. Saul Brook, a Star Wars aside. If I was George Lucas, I would release the original theatrical cuts of episodes 4, 5, and 6 in a high-resolution format. But I am not George Lucas, and he is an ass for not facilitating this. That would be nice. That would be nice. They do have the restored, like a fan restored cuts online. Like you can find them. Like somebody found a print, like a theater run print from the 70s of A New Hope. And they digitized it or something. I don't remember. I tell you, I don't know. If I was George Lucas, I would say, why didn't I come up with anything as awesome as the animated series The Clone Wars or Rebels? For me now, those are the tentpole installments of the Star Wars Star Wars verse, they're the best of the best, in my opinion. Leonidas Lance. Or is that Lance Leonidas? Great video. Well, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Any opinions on the... Really? It's almost 5? But you'll notice, right on time, with the Captain Phasma. What a crazy disco watch. It's neat. Any opinions on the Seiko Ska 371 BFK? It's a pretty watch. It was made at the time that Seiko was really going for the boat anchors, and so the case, everything is just like big and blobby and heavy, and the bracelets are really heavy, and they added a lot of heft to the watch that I personally feel sort of unnecessary, and made it, again, just heavy. I never wore mine. I've owned 2 that were beautiful. I never wore them. If the cases were like 10% thinner, not necessarily smaller or anything else like that, but just less material, like deflated slightly, and with a much more comfortable bracelet, I'd be down. The only other thing is that I don't have a whole lot of faith in Seiko's kinetic technology. Solar, yes. Kinetic doesn't work for me, but I think they're beautiful watches. This is from VB. He is talking about the Seiko service manuals. Holy smokes, that's many more pages than I thought. Oh yeah, and most of them are an unusual size. I had an entire lifetime working in quick print, and I've scanned all kinds of gnarly stuff, and I would not want the job of scanning that thing. Let's see. Anyhow, I really appreciate the Save More Seiko's sentiment, which makes me think, are there sources of heartbreak for you in terms of vintage Seiko restoration? For example, I have a pair of 4823 and a 4843 in near perfect condition with dead quartz modules. This makes me particularly melancholy. It would be interesting to hear your take on reaching the end of the line with certain watches or parts, those that are essentially extinct. Thanks so much for your time and thoughts. Insight Spencer, very grateful. Grateful for you watching. Oh man, there's all kinds of stuff. I have a really beaten up Grand Seiko with a gold cap case. And the bezels for those are, the one I have is snapped. And I can't find a replacement anywhere. And I've gone through every bezel I have that's loose to see anything that would even come close. Nothing. Also, the dial is destroyed. Someone just destroyed the thing. So, you know, that's really heartbreaking. I'm a little numb to this, maybe a little bit, because I don't see it so much anymore. But all the 6105s with water damaged loom, because the crown seals would go bad and you couldn't get the replacement crowns, and so people would just deal with it, and then guy would wear it and it would ruin the loom. Or I saw when it was the guy's son found his father's 6105, and it was perfect. It was perfect. And he's just strapped it on during a vacation to Florida and went right into the water with it, roasted. A lot of the LCDs, they're kind of heartbreaking because you just can't get parts. I was trying to bring back a lemon drop, and there was a guy down in the Philippines who Tony, what was Tony's last name? Gosh, it's been a while since I've dealt with him. Anyway, but he sold a lot of original parts. I think he was cleaning out like a parts warehouse or an old watch supply place. But he was selling the LCD screens for the 0634s, but all of the packages had been opened, and he's like, I don't know. And so I ended up getting like 3 from him, hoping that one was good, and they were, as I suspected, bad. They were the ones where your watchmaker opens the package, puts the new piece out, puts it in the watch, repairs it, and then takes the old one and puts it back in there so you know what it is and what it goes to. But it was opened, and it's just tough. You can't find bracelet links for it for anything, love or money. I don't know. Basically, don't get me started. Don't get me started. All the stuff that you can't find anymore. 6309 and 6105 inserts. I have to say that's probably one of the biggest things. There's just nobody, literally, I'm not aware of anybody on the planet who makes a truly good reproduction of those inserts, the right kind of anodized finish with the right toughness and that eggshell sort of finish to it, and the little 45-degree bevel that's around the inside edge of the thing, and the size of the pip, and the way the pip is done. It's sort of a stacked thing. Man, if those inserts could be made again to the same standard, that would be awesome. So many watches would look so much better. Skateboarded 28. Any chance you know where I can find the lift angle for an 8L35 movement like the Marine Master 300? Thank you. I would do what I always do, which is Google it. But I will tell you that the 7000 series movements that the 8L is sort of not based on, but it's part of that family. All of those, dating from the 60s all the way up through the 6R, 4Rs, the lift angle is 53 degrees. And so when in doubt, that's what I would use. And all I would do in case the lift angle was wrong, which would give you different amplitude numbers, all I would do is I would make sure, I would not ignore the amplitude numbers, but I would see if they are steady and consistent, whatever they are, and if they're improving. And I would also look at the actual like beat error and all that stuff. I would pay less attention to the amplitude. As long as it's consistent and you got a good flat line, that's what I would do. You'll get enough information that it works. Oh, Changeling 67. He's talking about the 6105 slim case homages from Redune that I did the review of, unprompted, unpaid, unsponsored, everything. I just did it. I bought one and I love it. October 21, and Redune are bringing out their new 6105 8110, which looks great, nails many details, and comes in a chocolate bar strap. I'm a little conflicted. They contacted me. The original Redune video I made sparked a huge buy-off for them. They sold so many of their watches that they ran out completely and had to put people on back order like 3 times. And I never, they kind of said, hey, thank you to Spencer for this on their Facebook page, but I never got anything. No one ever wrote me an email to say, hey, I'm just writing to say thank you. No one wrote me from that company to thank me, or to anything like that. Nothing. I didn't get a brass penny out of it. Well, you wouldn't make a penny out of brass, now would you? Anyway, so I'm sitting here. These guys, I don't even know how many watches they sold on the back of my review. And of course, the quality of their product. But then they wrote me recently. They're like, hey, we're going to make the 6309. Perfect. And we want you to collaborate with us. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what happened the last time we worked together, which wasn't, it wasn't like, I would have at least appreciated a thank you. And they kind of grudgingly gave me one. They were like, well, we did thank you. But in any case, I think I misunderstood them, but they said they want me to work with them to do the 6309, to make it right. I don't know if it's a consulting role or what the heck it is, but they said that it's possible that I might get a free watch out of the deal. Oh yeah, I'm going to loan my name and the imprimatur of my reputation for a company around the world who didn't give me a nickel or even sent me a direct note of thanks. But I would love to have my hand in a new modern recreation of the 6309. I just can't make up my mind about the whole thing. I need to figure out from them what they want me to do. I don't know what they want me to do. They haven't said anything about compensation or any of that stuff, so who knows. Todd Shuck. Hello, Mr. Shuck. Talking about the Jimmy Hoffa watch. That Hoffa watch is a trip. Maybe put it in a concrete display case. That would be funny. But, to show the Hoffa thing, I'd have to do it with I'd have to have the watch up, but then maybe at like an angle with a mirror and then another mirror to reverse the first mirror so that you could see the Hoffa back on it. Or you have a concrete box and the watch is on a spinny so that you can go to the handle on the top and turn it and the whole watch will turn. I'd still have to have lights in it though. I don't know, has anybody ever seen one of those Hoffa watches? Has anybody else ever seen one? I've never seen one. Theory, it's in this bag. These watches are in this bag because I need to put them, Sabrina wants to put them in, I need to put them in the database so we know what we have here. That's why they're in a big bag. It's not like I'm hauling them through customs like this. They're just one place. Jason 107. Spencer, the Caravel 11DP, which is the movement, I think that's the movement in the Hoffa watch, is a rebranded Citizen 0241 movement. It was available in 7-jewel or 17-jewel configuration. 17-jewel version is found in the Caravel Sea Hunter, aka the Devil Diver. Awesome video. Well, thank you. I would love to see your thoughts on the Caravel. Well, once, things... me too. I guess we'll find out what happens when we get there. TAC 178. I have a 1977 to 78 Waltham manual winding watch with a PUW movement. That's the same one that's in the... It's a Pforzheim Uhren work. They were a German company. And after they were kind of the same deal as like Timex, in that they made like bomb timers and stuff like that. And that's what Timex was. Their stuff had to run. It didn't have to run super accurately, but it had to run. So, but PUW, their stuff was it was actually kind of nice. I liked PUW. It's interesting to me that they never became like an ETA. Like they never moved on and were able to do it. I don't know if there was a taxation reason why that didn't work out, but a lot of those German companies did well in the post-war years, and then it just, they didn't survive the quartz crisis, and that was the end of it. JP, talking on the last mail call video, I love the long duck dong quote at 5 minutes. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's an unfortunate portrayal. I know Mr. Watanabe did a good job with the character, but it was barely acceptable then. It was pretty freaking racist. And these days, it's just cruel. So that's unfortunate. But man, everything else about the movie, well, except for the date rape part, but all the rest of it, that was my high school experience. Samantha Baker, the character, Molly Ringwald, the actress, I think she's like a week younger than me. And her character is as well. That was literally the time that I was in high school and the kind of high school that I went to and everything. So I don't even know how many times I've seen that movie. Keith Donnelly. Love those early LCD Seikos. Back in July, I picked up an 0624 5009 Lemon Drop from September 1975. I spotted it while at a watch fair after remembering in one of your videos talking about the quality, especially the bracelet. The moment I picked it up, I couldn't get over how nice it felt. So comfortable to wear. Fantastic finish on the bracelet. Seiko really did put a lot of time in them. Yeah. Those early LCD quartzes, Seiko spared no expense. Speaking of Jurassic Park, they're beautifully done. But again, it's heartbreaking because you can't. I have one that's really nice. It's a pretty nice piece, and the LCD works, but the I think the polarizing film is degraded because the whole thing looks dark. I mean, it's clean. There aren't any black spots or anything. Like, there are no quartz bleeds, but it's just dark. And I can't find another LCD unit. And I had to build the movement out of like four different ones because they were all battery damaged. Every single one. The case looks awesome. The inside is a wreck. Well, less of a wreck. It works, but if somebody out there has one of those that, even if it has a dead module, if it has a decent LCD and any removable links for the bracelet, let me know, please. Okay, now people are talking about the 7548 video that I made last week. Love those. Oh, I'm sorry. Bruce Barlow, the 7548 is my favorite watch. Also, another cool diver's sports watch is the Pulsar Y513 and Y514, known as the poor man's Seiko, but have the same quality build as their big brother. It's true, and I should not have forgotten that. They even use the 6309 crown with the internal seal. Literally, it's the same. It's the same crown. It's the same part. They're very cool. You don't see them too often online, and then I forget about them. But then when I do see them, they go for money. They're really pretty watches. They're a crown at 3. They have a full screw down crown. The movement is basically a 7546, I think. They're fantastic. Thank you for reminding me. I've been meaning to try to get one. I really have. Seiko Diver watches are very popular down under in New Zealand. I never think of New Zealand as down under. Do New Zealanders, do you Kiwis say that you're down under? Because up here, this part of Australia, we associate it with Australia. I don't know if that's right or not, but more about 7548s. Ryan Walters. Don't forget the orange dialed variant 7546 603H. Crazy integrated bracelet cases like a Bellmatic 6040, but so damn cool. Yeah, this is funny. So I have oh, did I move it upstairs? I must, didn't I? Yes, I did. I put it back upstairs. I'm sorry. I've been thinking about, Ryan and I have been doing business and trades and stuff for a while, and I found, he asked me to find him an orange dialed 7548, and I got one for him. And when it came in, I was like, oh my, be still my heart. It was so beautiful. It was his watch though, and that was the deal, and I sent it off to him. And then he traded it back to me for another watch. Okay, that's great. I have it back. It's one of my favorites. I love it. I love the watch. Love it. But it got me thinking about that particular orange, that like Aztec orange, that blaze red orange that those dials were. I was looking on eBay and I found a 7546 and it had this orange dial, and I was like, that's cool. That's pretty cool. But I didn't say anything about it to anybody, and I forgot about it. And then I got an email saying, this watch sold. And I'm like, I forgot to bid on it. Ryan Walters bought it. So I should get to see it at some point. That'd be cool. I don't know that I've ever seen one in person. Ryan. Oh, Ryan, by the way, remind me, my Sabrina's grandmother, who lives in your town, she's going to fly us down, the whole family down there, to see her, because she's in her 80s now, and she wants to see the kids, her grandkids, great-grandkids, I guess. So that's going to happen at some point next year. So I'll be down there in that part of your world. Okay, Watch Nut. Your videos are a great reason to show off your wonderful collection, and it also gives us Seiko nuts something to drool over. Well, I'm glad. I don't have much rhyme or reason to my collection anymore. I think I've settled on the watches that I wear being ones that are iconic models that people know, but that are unique to themselves. So watches that have service handsets from a long time ago, or interesting wear, something unusual. There really isn't much of a unifying theme more to that. Just things that I enjoy wearing. They're fun. There are people who have far better collections of stuff than I do. Eric Strickland, his stuff is amazing, just amazing. Burtnett, he has. I don't even know where these guys get these watches. Like brand new, super early in '69 speed timers with like brand new, like everything with the box and tags and everything. You couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't own something like that. It would drive me nuts because you can't do anything. Still speaking about 7546s, Patrick O. Would it be accurate in believing there is probable cause for these Seikos having superior crown tubes for that era? Probable cause, superior crown tubes. I don't know. Seiko took their job seriously. They were very concerned with giving huge amounts of value for money. They believed in quality. They weren't cutting any corners with their base stuff. The sort of the knockoff Swiss stuff that was trying to live during the quartz crisis was just, I don't know, just kind of crappy. But Seiko stuff, especially the stainless steel cases, I mean, that's one thing that's never flagged with Seiko is just the quality of their casework. They had superior crown tubes, therefore, because, in my opinion, they were Seiko and they felt they should. And they did. Watch nut. I have a 6309 7040 with a missing bezel pip. I bought some hole punches and was wondering if you know the bezel pip diameter and what thickness of plastic to use to make a new pip window. Okay. I've tried over the years many times to do this. The thing with the pips, those pips, is they're actually they're molded into a specific look. They have imagine this is the top of the insert. That's the top of the insert. My head is the insert. No. This is the top of the insert. So you have the clear top of the loomed pip is here. It's more or less even with the surface, and it goes through basically the entire thickness of the insert. It has large diameter on that outer front, and then it has a step in, and there's a corresponding step inside the aluminum insert, and they go together. So what I found, I tried all kinds of different things. I tried, I believe the pip is 2 millimeters, by the way. I tried just getting one circle of plastic, like just in the outer thing, and then like trying to backfill it with like 2-part clear epoxy to see if I could just get it to settle in and hold it in place, but it would always dome, and so you get this fisheye look, which was kind of weird. The only time Seiko did that was with some of the early 6105 8000s. Then I tried to punch out a big one with a little one so I could try to make a step thing, again, gluing it together, and that worked. It's been a long time since I've tried it, but it wasn't right. You could see there were variations in the surface of the pip. It wasn't perfectly clean. The cut wasn't right. It just kind of looked sloppy. And I never came out with a better way to do it. There's just no one that makes that pip, the pip with that step. That's what you need. They were specifically made that way. I don't know. I wish I had a bucket of them. I'd mail them to everybody. Everybody needs some. Okay, so this same person, Watchnut, is talking about he had a 6309. It had basically the click ball was in the wrong place. Typically, when you see a Seiko diver like this, your click ball is going to be over here in the top right. With 6105s, 6105 8110s, etc., and 7548s and the 6309 slim cases, sometimes you'll see that they'll have the pip will be in another place. Sometimes it'll be here. Sometimes it'll be here. I don't ever remember one being down here. I've seen one where it's like they drilled the hole, but then there was something wrong and they didn't go and finish it by installing the spring in the click ball, and it'll be over here. I've seen them where it's in the wrong place and you look where it should be and there's just like a little dimple. I drop my questions again. Again, the whole system for 6309, 6105s, it's you have a hole in the case, and then you put the spring into it, and then you put your ball bearing into it, and then the top of the hole is crimped ever so slightly in and down. Like you punch it and it goes boom, and that holds the ball in, but it's imprecise and they tended to wear or get stuck. And so Seiko eventually abandoned that and went to the new system, which was used in the Seiko 7002 transitionals, which was the modern 120 click bezel, where the click is actually done by a leaf spring rather than a click ball. And it gives us 120 clicks. Honestly, a much, much better system. This is a nice watch. These transitionals, man. It's a nice watch. It's an aftermarket insert. Gosh darn it, because I need an insert, but beyond that, it's fine. Hang on. Okay, and the last part of WatchNut's question. This is also the second 1977 I've had to change the crystal gasket on. The other was a March 77, which, by the way, is very early for 6309. That's like, I mean, 6306s were made through the fall, starting in the fall of 1976, but the first 6309s didn't come out until, I think, January, February, March of 77. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. Anyway, the other was a March 1977, and the crystal gasket was turning sticky. All other crystal gaskets I've changed on these are usually okay. Have you ever noticed this? The only time I've seen, I don't ever remember, because Seiko makes those crystal gaskets out of Viton, and it's pretty chemically resistant. It's stable. It doesn't oxidize. It's meant for long use and pretty abusive applications. When I see things turning sticky, it's usually an aftermarket part. The only thing is the only aftermarket crystal gaskets I can ever remember seeing were either they were the ones that the white in the natural rubber. Usually they'll turn sort of yellow, and then they get really sort of hard and crack a lot, but they don't turn to like goo. I've seen the goo, and that's something else. I don't know. I would say maybe it's aftermarket, or that watch got exposed to some crazy chemicals I'm not aware of. Okay, last one. No, last one. Last page, anyway. Bruh Ollie. Hi, Spencer. Okay, he's asking about 7548 7000Fs, you know, like the Pepsi, the blue dial, I think. Hi, Spencer. May I possibly ask, is the dial black or blue on this one? Seiko loved, and still does love, they love a particular like midnight blue that's so dark blue that in certain lights it looks black. So that's something we see a lot. It should be blue, but sometimes they came out real dark. Also, is there any way to speed up the process of making the lume on my Seiko the peachy hue that you have here? Would a lamp work with gentle light over time, or is it just acquired via being in the sun? He's talking about some of those. I don't think I've got one actually to show anybody, but he's talking about so like these kind of flat printed dials. So you have like 6309, 7548, and they came out, typically they would be white, except in the 76 and 77 and maybe into 78 time frame, they could be this like butter tan yellow. I don't see it very often with 7548s. I have seen it. I've definitely owned some, but it's not that common. It's not like a 6309 from that same time period. They were almost all of them, as far as I can tell, made with tan lume. I've owned, I don't even know how many I've owned. Some of them looked like they were brand new. and the loom was that color. And the hand loom on those is always white, pure white hand loom, like butter colored like this, or even more yellow loom. And I think they were made that way. Seiko loom does not like patinaing. It doesn't like doing that. I've only owned a couple that I could say with any certainty were any kind of after sale forced patina. The best one I can remember was a 6309. I bought it from a company in Florida that cleared out storage units, and the loom on that dial, because it was not a 77, it was later. It was like a 79, I think. But the loom on that one was so yellow, it was like egg yolk, like golden egg yolk. And I gathered from talking to the person who sold it that it had sat along with all this person's other belongings in an unair conditioned storage unit in Florida for like 20 years. So I can't even imagine how hot that would be. So if you've got 20 spare years in a very hot room, maybe. Other than that, if you want that tan loom, you have to look for it and buy it. Okay. Yeah, so it's not blind luck at all. You just need to find one that has that loom color and buy it. That's it. Really. For the watch part. The watch section of this video, I have a couple comments about ADHD that people wrote me, and I like to respond to something like that. So I'm going to respond, but you don't have to be there if you don't feel like hearing about that. Lots of stuff going on this weekend, but I'm not sure what of it is going to be needing from me. Oh, we have a ton of watches. Sabrina is going through, and she's getting ready to list a bunch of different watches for sale. Things like, I don't know, all kinds of wonderful things. This baby, titanium Mecha Spork Stargate, 21 Joule SKX 007J, 7A38. There's a 7A38, and this one's fully restored. Like I did this like a couple of weeks ago. In fact, this one might even be on the website already. She might have actually put this on the website already. Completely serviced, new crystal, all new seals, new battery, everything. It's good to go. It has some patina on the hands, but it's good to go. This is an early 70s glycine dress watch, which was marked and sold by the Bayer jewelry company, watch company in Basel, Switzerland. I think it's in Basel, or were they in Zurich? Glycine. Well, in any case, so this was like when you get a Rolex that's branded Tiffany's, this is the same thing. This is a glycine. It's got a beautiful ETA movement in it, new old stock glycine original bracelet, fully serviced. The loom was black, so this has been reloomed, but that means you can read it at night, which is very cool. Anyway, this is going to be on the website. I've got a bunch of stuff that's going to go on there. It's a ton of watches. I've got a ton of watches. So if anybody's looking for something, there's not going to be any 6105s or anything big like that, but a lot of this other stuff that's repaired and it's ready to go. Like, it's just sitting here, and they'd be a lot happier if they could be on a wrist, and they're not going to be on a wrist here. Okay, now ADHD. Subtropic time. By the way, thank you for all the nice comments you've been making on my videos, and also, I believe, on Instagram. And I do thank you for that. Another great video, Spencer. Thank you for sharing, as always. Thank you for watching. Ditto on the home ambience, like music to my ears, too, really. That's nice to hear. Very interesting fossils. Quartz SKX automatic comparison, interchangeability, and thank you also for sharing more in ADHD and our emails. I should have been more specific. If I could, I wouldn't go back and change a thing, is what you said. About having or not having my particular condition, that's all. But yes, you got it. If you had told me that that would be the case as a school-age kid, I would have been simply gobsmacked. Having great support and understanding of a great family, friends, coworkers, teachers is everything. To me, so glad to hear you guys have some good ones at school. Have a great weekend. Keep it ticking. LOL. Yeah, it's good that you had a support system. It's great that that worked out, and with knowledge and understanding and work and treatment, both appropriate treatment, things can definitely get a lot better. My experience in school and with my family was quite different, but that's because of the dynamic of the family that I grew up in. It is what it is. Marcello Dietrich, thank you for being open about your experiences with ADHD. Well, thank you for thanking me, and I thank you. Looking back to my early elementary school years and even today, I believe I have it as well. I appreciate your point of view regarding being very pleased with where you are now. That's very insightful, enlightening, and helping perspective. Thank you, Spencer. You're welcome. No, but I mean, I really do mean it. It is finally being medicated is life-changing in a really, you think, I've read these things, you think you're going to take your first, dose of your meds and everything's going to go, and everything's going to be awesome and you're just going to be better. It doesn't work that way. It's a slow process, which I enhanced and reinforced with therapy, actual therapy. And it was those two things together with the medication, working to get it right. It's a different world. And there's certain things that there's a shocking number of things that I realized that I simply didn't understand, that I just couldn't grasp about how I interacted with other people or how people interacted with me or any of that other stuff. I always thought that I was good at reading people, and getting a good beat on somebody and figuring out what their deal was. And I realized at cold shock that the exact opposite is true. I can't read people at all. Their facial expressions don't communicate clearly to me. I'm always constantly misreading social situations, social cues, and it was like half of it was going on in some unspoken, invisible form of communication that I was not privy to. So being medicated now, some of those things you sort of, it's like waking up from a dream, and the reality from your dream is still there in your waking day, and it kind of feels like it's still with you. But then as you kind of wake up and get moving, it kind of fades away, and you're thinking about what felt like normal in the dream, but it's not normal at all. And then you wake up and you're like, wow, here we are. All the things that I went through, all the blame and the self-recrimination, the meetings and the parent-teacher conferences and the run-ins with my parents and the run-ins with, all the trouble I got into and all the bullshit that was happening. It just, now I look back, I can see, I was like, oh, there's your problem. And I wasn't unique, and I wasn't special, and I wasn't alone. And I wish I had known those things. I wish very much that I had known that I was not alone. But I think everybody else thought they were alone too, because back then, ADHD, what was that? So it sucks. Well, it sucked. It doesn't suck anymore. If you believe that you potentially have ADHD, it is absolutely worth it to get screened. Get screened. And then, if in fact that is something you're dealing with, get medicated. Seriously, get medicated. And it's tough to do, but therapy helps. There's so much stuff in my childhood that was awful, above and beyond anything having to do with ADHD. Just the things, the world that I was born into was it was not a good place for someone like me, and it was tough. It was tough, and there were a lot of bad things that came out of that. And so therapy helps me with that. It really does. It really, 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 truly does. No joke. I'm a lot better off than I had been. And that's sort of the 1-2 punch, is you deal with the old problems and your ways of thinking and your ways of coping, and you have new ways to think about stuff. Then you get the medication, and the medication stops your brain from doing jackassery that got you into this mess in the first place. And it's doable. It works. It works. I'm getting to be I'm getting a chance to be someone else. I don't have to be stuck like, my old, miserable self. I don't have to be that way. And so here I am, becoming someone else. So it's not a bad thing to become someone else. Anyway, okay, that's it for ADHD. And we are done. And more fossils this weekend. And that's it for everybody who's watched. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.